G'day there ladies and gents, it's Connor here again from Marquee Industries and we are reading some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and also the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Alrighty, let's get right into it. Alrighty, we're on Am I the A-hole? This one was written by user Unhappy Tiger, and it's titled, Am I the A-hole for letting my dad think I was missing and causing him to be disowned? This happened in 2020, but it recently got brought up, so I thought I'd ask. So I, 17 female, used to have a great relationship with my stepmother. I genuinely saw her as a mother figure in my life, and I was so excited when she found she was pregnant. But everything changed in 2020 when I had to stay prematurely with my dad during the lockdowns because my mum is a surgeon. At first, everything was normal, until my stepmother, Tammy, was about 4 months pregnant. She started snapping at me for no reason, and things that she didn't care about before now bothered her. Now, I wasn't a messy or a loud person. I did everything I was asked and respected the rules without any backtalk, but no matter what I did, she got angry. It came to a point she couldn't stand being in the same room as me. I remember I ended up staying in my room most of the time. I only left to do chores or get something from the kitchen. Even at that, she got mad. Like one day she came into my room angry and started yelling that my room was so smelly it was making her sick. I pointed out that the only mess in my room was a half bag of chips, which caused her to burst out crying. As always, Dad babied her, then made excuses saying she's struggling over lockdown, pregnancy, and not being able to see her family. My mental health was extremely bad. I felt like I was a piece of trash that at any day my dad was going to throw away, and I was always scared my mum would get sick. It went so bad my hair started falling out. The breaking point came when I was at the kitchen table. I was reading a story on my phone, waiting for my cereal to go soggy to eat it. When Tammy came in, huffed, then started cleaning loudly, complaining about a mess. The kitchen was spotless. Then she took my bowl and threw it in the bin, literally even the bowl, so I just flipped and started yelling at her what was her problem with me, and called her an abusive frickin' B, among other things. My dad came running and got between us, and she demanded that I leave the house, and that I was never allowed near her kid. Dad walked me to my room, then said something that ruined our relationship forever. He told me that I must be doing something to Tammy because no one hates a kid for no reason, and if I kept stressing her, I'd have to move out. I then made a social media post asking someone for a place to stay, and explained the situation in detail, packed a bag, then climbed out of my bedroom window. After about 30 minutes, my phone started blowing up, but I just turned it off and went to a friend's house. I texted my mum off my friend's phone to let her know everything. She didn't call for 7 hours because she was in surgery. She then said my aunt would pick me up the next day. My mum told my father I was okay and that I'd be staying with my aunt for a few weeks till she could come home. Apparently Dad and Tammy had to go door to door to my family and friends' houses looking for me. You know, after I made the post, let's say they got a lot of crap. My grandparents still don't talk to him to this day. My aunt packed up my room because I refused to go back into that house. I've not spoken to my father in years, or met my half-brother. Tammy and Dad still try to fix our relationship. Apparently sometimes pregnant women get a hatred against people or pets for no reason. I'm turning 18 in 3 weeks, and a cousin's girlfriend asked me about inviting my dad, so I told her the story. She told me while what they did was wrong, what I did was an a-hole thing too, because I made them worry and stress and go to multiple people's houses during a pandemic that put a pregnant woman having a mental health issue at risk by the whole stunt. So, am I the a-hole for letting my dad think I was missing? Nah, Opie was straight up abused by this woman until she was forced to vacate. And then after, they were told anyway that she was staying at her auntie's place. They for sure knew why she ran away. Either that or Opie's dad is just too much of an idiot to see. Let's go to the comments. You were being abused by this woman to the point you were losing hair, and your father chose her. You did the right thing to protect yourself. Even if this was some medical with her due to the pregnancy, the two adults in the situation owed you far more grace and understanding than you got. He told you it was on you because his wife couldn't possibly hate someone so much without a reason, while knowing damn well you weren't doing anything wrong. He can live with those consequences. If they can't apologize without blaming you, there is no real apology happening. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Cousin's girlfriend has no right to judge you for a situation she wasn't there for. She's completely ignoring that your dad ticked off the whole family with his actions towards you. It's rare that family actually holds a neglectful parent accountable, yet she's judging you? Sure, Jan. Opie replies, my dad's side has been extremely supportive and still get mad about it. My grandparents have disowned him. Even I'm not the only person he lost that day. Quote, my dad came running and got between us. She demanded that I leave the house and that I was never allowed near her kid. Your father basically asked you to leave the house and that you weren't allowed near the kid. You did what he asked you to do. Quote, apparently Dad and Tammy had to go door to door to the family and friends' houses looking for me, after I made the post. Let's say they got a lot of crap. Hormones might have made her on edge, but nothing fixes hormone issues like a social media post and the crap that comes with it. Lockdown was stressful for anyone, and they made your life hell. Do you want these people in your life? Not the a-hole if you move on with your life and they are not part of it. This happened in 2020. You're now 17, basically 18, so at the time you were just a 13 or 14-year-old girl. Absolutely not at fault. For a 13-year-old to be so mentally and emotionally stressed out to the point that their hair is falling out and they're losing weight, something is seriously wrong. Even for an adult, that is a major sign something is wrong. Your dad failed severely. He should have seen your physical state and knew something was going on, but he blamed you instead by defending Tammy. Tammy and your dad used hormones to tone down the severity of what she did and to deflect total responsibility. Never go back to them. Your paternal side agrees with you. Your maternal side agrees with you. Your cousin's girlfriend needs to mind her business. Yeah, 100%. Now for an update. Hi guys, I honestly thought I'd never give an update, but here I am. I'm going to call my cousin's girlfriend Sarah and my cousin Paul. So I mentioned in a comment I uninvited Sarah from the party. Yesterday, Paul came over to talk and he told me that Sarah had issues in the past with her younger siblings. It was apparently really bad, like her siblings lived with their mum full time and she lived with her dad. Long story short, Sarah was diagnosed with bipolar disorder in college and went to therapy. He said even though she's apologised, her siblings still won't have anything to do with her, which breaks her heart. Paul said Sarah told him that when I told her what happened, it triggered her because it reminded her of her situation with her siblings. I didn't mention it in the other post because it was really irrelevant to what I was asking, but Sarah texted me about letting go of the hate, links to sites about family members with mental health issues, numbers of family therapists, even subreddits on here. He told me Sarah wanted to meet up to clear the air and apologise in person. I said okay. Sarah texted about half an hour later about collecting me because she wanted to drive to a new restaurant that newly opened in the next town over as her pre-birthday treat to me. We know what she was planning, but Tammy ruined it for her by calling my mum to tell her Sarah's plans to help us make up. I wrote my dad a letter 2 days ago, as a lot of you suggested. I put everything in there and told him how it affects me to this day. I told him I wanted a relationship with my brother, but I wasn't sure I'll ever want one with him. I told him to leave me alone because his actions are only pushing me away even more, and if I ever decide I want to talk to him, it will be on my terms, with my mum present. The letter ended up being 5 pages, and you guys were right, it did make me feel better. My mum dropped it off that day, and Dad asked to meet her a day later. They talked about me meeting my brother, and my dad said he wants to buy me a car, no strings attached. They, Tammy and Dad, also asked would it be okay to give me money to get myself something for my birthday. You guys are going to hate me for this, but I'm taking the car, and $500 if he wants to give me more. He can because college supplies and moving into a dorm is expensive. Back to Sarah. She's basically contacted Tammy via Facebook. Tammy sent my mum the screenshots, telling her everything I said, then asking Tammy her side because Sarah didn't believe me. To Tammy's credit, she told the truth and took full accountability. It was Sarah who kept trying to make out Tammy was the victim. Sarah told Tammy about her own past and said she'd try to mend our relationship. Tammy told her that she didn't want her to. The last message was Sarah telling Tammy the location and time would be at the restaurant, even said she'd drive me, so I couldn't leave even, though I'd just asked a waitress for help or call my mum. My mum posted the screenshots into the group chat and called Sarah a bunch of names, told her if she ever came near me again, she'd regret it. I blocked Sarah and left the group chat, so I don't know what happened afterwards, but Paul came over with my aunt and swore he knew nothing about it. To be honest, I don't know if I believe him because he was trying to defend Sarah again, which got him a verbal lashing from my aunt and mum. That's it really. I'm going to update in a few months to let you guys know how everything went with my brother. I feel like I owe everyone that, after so many people helped me take that step, because honestly words can't describe how happy it's made me. Literally the best birthday present I could have gotten. Thank you so much for the amazing advice and people sharing their own experiences. Even the woman who suffered mental illness, Temmie, did. It helped me understand it a bit more, but I still can't forgive her. I don't think we can ever rebuild our relationship, especially to what it was. Now for a final update. Hi guys, as promised I'd give everyone an update, and it's the final one. Short version, I turned 18 3 days ago and had a great time. I've met my brother, Sarah tried to get in contact with me again, and I've spoken to my father and Temmie. It's easier to break everything down. Sarah. A day after I made the last update, my mum booked a holiday for a week to get away, which was really random and sudden for her. 3 days in, my mum got a notification that someone was at our door, and it was Sarah. Sarah at first was normal, asking my mum to talk to me. Then she started explaining herself and her situation, which went between sad and angry, but suddenly she freaked out and started calling me names and threatening me while damaging our door and porch, even broke the Ring camera. It was extremely scary. I don't blame her siblings for not wanting anything to do with her. Sarah was arrested. My mum is definitely pressing charges. I don't know much about her situation now, but I'm not going to lie, I've been looking over my shoulder a lot since. For those wondering, yeah, her and my cousin broke up. He's, let's say, shaken up, worse than me, and very apologetic. My brother. My birthday went great. I had such a good time, honestly. I've the best mother and family in the world. They really made my 18th special. I got so many amazing presents, but my favourite was the sister necklace my brother gave me. Obviously Dad or Temmie got it, but I finally get to be his sister, and that's what I've wanted for so long. We've spent some time together, and I'm seeing him again tomorrow. He's so extremely adventurous, never sits down for a second. He loves Miss Rachel and Green. I found out he and the neighbour's cat will stare each other down, which I used to do when I stayed at Dad's. I could talk for hours about him. I'm so glad you guys helped me meet him. I can't thank you enough for that. Dad. My dad was there the first time I met my brother. I knew beforehand, because obviously my brother is a toddler. Basically we met at Aunt's house. I was told he'd stay in the kitchen the whole time. I caught him peeking at me and brother a few times throughout the day. When I was leaving, my dad followed me out and just hugged me. He told me he missed me. I hugged him back and told him I missed him too. As you know, it was the first time I've spoken to him in years. He apologized and took accountability. I started angry crying, then just left everything out. I told him how they've made me feel, my mental health, and that I love him but I'll never forgive him. He asked me if he could try to make it up to me and be a part of my life again. I said we can try, but I'm making no promises on ever getting back the relationship we once had. We have spoken a few times and he's helped me when I needed to bring my large dog home from the vets. Now Temmie, you guys are going to be shocked, but I was the one who contacted her, so I got my mum to call her to basically say, Jessica is with me, she wants to speak to you. Temmie was obviously shocked but agreed. I told her after everything she put me through and how much she hurt me that we'd never have a relationship, but I'm willing for just my brother's sake, not hers or mine, to be civil, because I want us to be able to attend my brother's events without drama. Temmie started apologizing and telling me she's not like that anymore, she got help, which I said I'm glad she's doing better. We talked about the Sarah situation and my brother for a few minutes. The whole call was like 20 minutes. I've not spoken to her since, but that was like 5 days ago. So that's it really, my last update. I know what people are thinking about my dad. I've not forgiven him and he'll have to work extremely hard to get back the relationship we lost, but I feel better that he's back in my life, and I do believe both of them regret it, but if I get any crap or think my brother isn't being treated well, I will make their lives hell. Thanks so much Reddit for the amazing advice. My name is Jessica and I'm praying I'll never have to make a post on here again. And now for some final comments. In a way, Sarah did help bring them back together. She made herself look so deranged that by comparison Opie's dad and Temmie were reasonable people. Funny how that works. Honestly, sounds like Temmie had some form of prepartum psychosis and the dad badly mismanaged things. Does sound like Temmie is taking responsibility and has worked on herself. I'm kinda loving these updates because Opie is getting to choose her path forward, and at such a young age has taken control of who gets to be in her life and how. Kudos to this smart kid. Yeah, 100% agree, although she could use punctuation a little more. That was a bit hard to read, not gonna lie. Anyway, what are your thoughts about this one? Let me know in the comments. Alrighty, let's move on to another story. Alrighty, we're back over on relationships. This one was written by user Pickled Sunflower, and it's titled, I promised my dying friend that I would regularly visit her disabled son. Now my husband wants to move across the country, but I feel too guilty. When I was in college, I got a job looking after an elderly couple's middle-aged, disabled son, John, on afternoons and some weekends. John is unable to take care of himself and requires constant supervision, but he is an overall very pleasant person. I grew up with 2 severely disabled siblings, so I'm quite comfortable with John. I don't have any formal caretaking experience, and because Jan and Jerry were retired, I was almost never completely alone with John. They took on the heavy lifting, so to speak, but they liked to have me around so they had the freedom to run errands by themselves, go on walks, take naps, etc. Caring for John was truly a full-time job, and hiring me helped to lessen the burden. They were extremely kind people, paid me well, and treated me like family. Over time, I grew very close to Jan, Jerry, and John. I brought over meals for them every week, and we would eat together. It stopped being about the compensation, although they did compensate me generously. This whole situation went on for about 4 years. Once I graduated college, I stopped working for them formally, but still spent time with them regularly. Around this time, Jerry passed away. Jan and I remained close, and I went back to assisting her with John on a part-time basis, even though I had a full-time job at this time. John is Jan and Jerry's only child, and all of their siblings are either dead or live far away. They had many close friends from church and around the community, but it was still difficult to find Jan the support she needed. About a year after Jerry passed away, Jan was diagnosed with cancer. She continued to care for John full-time even while battling cancer and undergoing treatment, but eventually, as her disease continued to progress, she moved John to live in a full-time assisted living centre. Towards the end of her life, we visited him together, and she expressed her fear that he would have no visitors and become depressed after she passed away. She asked me if I would continue to visit him regularly, and I agreed. She told me this was her only dying wish. Jan passed away over 3 years ago, and I've remained a part of John's life ever since. I visit his care facility, that is over an hour away, at least twice a week, because it is important to me to uphold my promise to Jan. However, my husband recently received a once-in-a-lifetime job offer across the country. We are talking thousands of miles away. I'm so happy for my husband, but I can't seem to get this awful pit out of my stomach. If it wasn't for John, I would have absolutely no hesitation moving away, but I can't let go of my overwhelming guilt. John really does have no other visitors. If he's lucky, a church friend will come once every 6 months or so. If I leave, he will be alone. Yes, he has his caretakers, but they care for dozens of people each day. Most of the other patients in this care facility are far less amicable and pleasant than John is, so he has difficulty making friends. The personal connection is just not there, and without it, I worry he will regress. I really don't know if I can move across the country in good conscience, but I know refusing to leave could jeopardize my marriage. Do I have any options legally if I wanted to pursue moving John to a care facility in my new city? Money is extremely tight, so I can't fathom hiring a lawyer or taking on any personal financial responsibility over John, but I just don't know what to do. Sorry for the length. Oh man, that's proper hard. I mean, in a situation like this, I would like to think that they wouldn't want you to jeopardize your marriage over, their comfort, so to speak, I guess. But I don't know, who am I to say? I'm not in a position like this. Let's go to some comments. I am dying. I would be heartbroken if I found out that something I asked of someone in this last part of my life put them in such a dilemma and possibly might be the end of their marriage, because that would not be my intention. I do not know what she intended, but if she did mean that you should put your relationship to her son above that of your husband and later your children, she asked too much. Others have given good advice on how to do this in the best way possible. Me, I hope nothing I say is taken this way. causing someone to consider to give up their life thinking this is what I expected of them. See if you can get John an iPad so you can still Skype him at least once a week. Make scheduled times in your calendar just like you would when visiting. Also, planning out a cool care package for once a month will help. Having some games like Words with Friends and other games where you can play against each other and some ebooks should help him as well. You deserve to be happy and make this situation flexible. Talk to the pastor at the church about having more people regularly visit him. I know you said money's tight, but if you offer the pastor some gas cards or money, it might help get more people willing to visit John. Can you Skype or video chat with him? If you do this, it might be a nice gesture to have some treats delivered to the staff that help with this, to thank them for helping with this. Also, if you send him a physical greeting card or postcard in the mail every so often, at least once a month, once a week would be better, it would be a physical reminder to him that you're keeping in touch with him. You can't sacrifice your whole future because of the promises you made your friend. You can honour your promise without physically visiting him. Yeah, some great suggestions there. Opie first makes an edit. Thank you all for the overwhelming amount of replies. I never expected this post would receive so much attention. I'm still sorting through my feelings, but I have to accept that it would be crazy to put my life on hold just to be there for John. Thank you all for the amazing suggestions. I'm going to get John a tablet and plan bi-weekly video conversations. That idea never occurred to me. We'll start video chatting before I leave, so he has a chance to get used to the new form of communication, in conjunction with the usual in-person visits, of course. I'm also in the process of working with his church to find him more visitors. Thank you all so much. My husband thanks you. In response to the question over who has the power of attorney over John, to be completely honest, I don't know. I would imagine it's one of his aunts or uncles. That worries me, however, because they're all in their 80s and 90s. I have a lot of unanswered questions about John's future, but I do know Jan and Jerry planned well financially and he has a large trust. I'm going to talk with the staff at his care facility and see if they can give me any additional information. Opie makes an update, 7 months later. Last time I posted, I was overcome with guilt about the prospect of leaving my disabled friend to move across the country. I honestly couldn't tell you the amount of hours I cried over the situation. It opened up so many cans of worms. Before this, I was living on autopilot. Coming to terms with the situation made me realize that I'm still grieving my parents. I still feel guilty about not putting in enough work, taking care of my disabled siblings, therefore putting the burden on my parents. I feel guilty about not visiting my siblings more. I miss Jan and Jerry terribly. I miss when I was younger and everything seemed so much easier. I didn't want to leave my home of 30 years, but I knew I had to. I was so scared of letting my husband down. I just had so many emotions tangled up in my promise to Jan, my commitment to John, and the prospect of moving thousands of miles away. I received so much great advice on my post. I know I didn't reply to most of the commenters, aside from a few special PMs, but I really can't put into words how much all the support meant to me. It really helped me when I was in a low place. So here goes with the update. My husband and I bit the bullet and made the big move this February. Before I left, I bought John a tablet and we practiced video calling 3 or 4 times. Honestly, it didn't work very well. He didn't seem to connect with me as well through Skype. He was distracted, irritable. He didn't seem to recognize it was me inside that tiny computer. The last time I visited him, I was heartbroken. I gave him a huge hug and a kiss. He's not normally super into physical contact like that, but he took it really well. I gave him a care package of some of his favorite candies and treats, and he was really happy. It was so bittersweet. I can't say I ever really felt confident in choice. We continued with video calls bi-weekly until about 2 months ago when I received a call from his treatment facility that John passed away after choking on a plastic game piece. I'm still utterly devastated. He was one of the most special people I've ever known, and it's hard to accept the reality of him really being gone. It's still a shock to me just typing this out. I know Jan and Jerry believed in heaven, so I like to think they're all together, happy and at peace now. I miss all 3 of them very much. I can't thank this sub and my professional licensed therapist, lol, for the support. I know this is a really depressing update, but I've wanted to thank all of the commenters on my original post for a while, and it seemed fitting to make a final post. Oh man, what a sucker punch ending. Let's read some final comments. John's mother was asking for you to do what you could to make sure he wasn't all alone without her. You went above and beyond to do all you could to not only check in on him, but to treat him like family, to the point of almost putting him before your own husband. I can't imagine that's what John's mother could have intended. She certainly wasn't expecting you to have to spend decades of your life tied to caring for John for her sake. I'm so sorry that John passed away. I'm sure his mother would have been so overwhelmed with the care you showed for him, and through him, for her and her memory. I'm also sure that John would be incredibly grateful for how amazing you were with him. Neither of them would have wanted or intended for you to give up your life to make his a little better. You should be so very proud of yourself. Very few people would have given as wholly as you did. I really hope you don't beat yourself up for moving away, as you absolutely did the right thing. You're clearly a very thoughtful, kind, caring person, and I wish you all the best, as it's what you deserve. Oh, this is heartbreaking. John was fortunate to have such great parents and a wonderful person like OP in his life. I genuinely did not expect that ending, and I'm now gutted. OP went above and beyond, and I'm so glad John wasn't alone for the rest of his days. I hope she's able to find peace since this was written. It seems like the majority of OP's formative relationships were highly based on the idea of obligation to fulfill a specific need within another person's life, and while all of the people are clearly described as loving and kind and clearly deserving of OP's support, I think she may never have had a model for how to pursue her own life goals. I particularly noted the line about putting the burden on my parents, which was not possible for OP to do. Caring for her disabled siblings was certainly something she could help with, but that burden, of the caring, not the siblings themselves, was never hers to begin with. She could not put it on anyone else. No one is a villain here, and what a sad outcome, but I think it's time for OP to discover who she is and what her goals are outside of the bonds of obligation. Okay, and that's the end of that story. I'd love to hear your thoughts about that one down in the comments. Let me know. Anyway, let's move on to another one. Alrighty, we're jumping over to True Off My Chest. This one was written by user Defenestrating, and it's titled, A week ago, my brother was in his 30s and healthy. Today, he's in the ICU with locked-in syndrome. The stroke doctor is concerned. It may be locked-in syndrome anyway. The original neurologist and attending physician basically made us believe there was no hope he was in there at all anymore. Yesterday, the stroke team came in and assessed him, and that's where the new diagnosis or theory came from. I don't know if I believe it or not. Is it good if he's still in there? Or is it cruel to even want that? We don't know if he'll ever get better. Very few people recover from locked-in syndrome. He has an ongoing infection and inflammation in the brainstem. We don't want him to live in storage in a care home for 30 years, vented, unable to move or communicate, just existing instead of living. But how do you pull life support from someone who may be conscious? And can you even do so legally? Or he may get a blood clot from being bedbound, or pneumonia, or the COVID the family just tested positive for. He had no health problems at all a week ago. The last few years have been the happiest of his life. It just doesn't feel real. Oh man, what a scary thought, being completely healthy and happy one day, and then the next you're locked in. God. Let's go to some comments. Hey OP. I've worked with many locked-in patients. It's a fate I would never wish on anyone. Diagnosis is hard because it's effectively a diagnosis of exclusion. If it's true textbook locked in, the clearest supporting presentation is if the patient can consistently move their eyes up and down, not side to side, to command. The difficulty lies in that real people aren't textbooks. Plus, there are so many confounding factors that it can make it hard to say with certainty, is a patient truly locked in? All that being said, I've had multiple locked-in patients recover to near normal levels of function. I was shocked because previously locked-in was a death sentence. Assuming he is young and healthy and his stroke is highly localized to the area that results are locked in, he may actually make some meaningful recovery with intensive therapy from locked-in accredited facilities. There are a few highly regarded facilities in the US. It is a long and arduous process. I'm talking a year minimum. But recovery is possible under the right circumstances. Also, ongoing infection is going to make it really difficult to determine exactly what's going on. You really need to be able to normalize everything else before you can say with certainty if someone is locked in. Another comment says, my aunt got pneumonia like 10 years ago and ended up in a coma, it was so severe. My mum went to the hospital and would just sit and talk to her, read her favourite books, put on her favourite shows, etc., even though the doctors said she wouldn't be able to recognise anything. She later woke up and told my mum that she heard everything my mum did, and what my mum did gave her hope to keep going. So have hope, OP. There's always hope. OP says, thank you. I asked his friends if he'd been intending to read any books, and ran out to pick one up yesterday, so I can read it out loud to him. Unfortunately, it's the Andromeda strain, and I didn't realise the subject matter until buying it. You should read it, and once it gets to the climax, just stop, then be like, hey, mother effer, you can finish this once you're out of the coma. I'm leaving it right here for you, and put it by his bed. But I also have a sick sense of humour sometimes, lol. But seriously, don't give up hope in him. Hope can do crazy things, and people have gone through crazy ordeals only relying on hope. Be his hope if he needs it. Opie makes another post asking what to get their brother's nurses who are working over Christmas. My brother has been in the ICU for a few weeks. I appreciate all of the nurses so much, but wanted to get at least a little something for the nurses who are missing out on time with their families to care for mine. Me and the immediate family have COVID and aren't even able to go in person. Food delivery, sweets or chocolates, gift cards, Amazon, Starbucks. I want it to be something actually desirable or useful. Thank you. And in the comments, my favourite gift as a nurse that a family brought in was a ton of practical stuff from Costco, with enough to go around. Think lip balm, gum packs, protein bars, Fairlife protein drinks, then maybe a few goodies like chocolate or candy. I'm sorry your brother is in ICU. Hope he makes a good recovery. Glad it's been a good experience with the staff. Another comment says, just speaking from a personal perspective, but a sincere thank you card is awesome. We post ones we get in our break room, and so when we go to eat a quick snack, it's like a nice little words of affirmation boost reading them. If food, be sure to schedule 2 separate deliveries, one for day shift, typically 7 AM to 7 PM, and one for night shift, typically 7 PM to 7 AM. If you just deliver it once during the day, it will be gone or cold for the night shift. On to an update. Thank you everyone for your kind words on my last post. This has been harder than there is language to explain, so I won't try. We have a tentative diagnosis for the cause of the encephalitis now, after getting a test back from Mayo Clinic. Disseminated histoplasmosis with CNS involvement, a brain fungal infection basically. Extremely rare for someone immunocompetent, very difficult to diagnose, and often misdiagnosed or underdiagnosed. Viral meningitis is the usual misdiagnosis, which is exactly what they've been assuming. His presentation matches it perfectly, including the upper respiratory thing he was dealing with for weeks prior. He was started on IV antifungals the very day they got the test back. In the past few weeks, we've lost the suspicion that he was locked in. He was in a full coma until 2 days ago, when he spontaneously opened his eyes. One neurologist or stroke specialist said this was an encouraging sign. The general neurologist said it was nothing. So as usual, we have no idea what's going on, what to expect, or what to hope for. Perhaps being foolishly hopeful, it does seem meaningful that there was never any improvement until a few days into the antifungal course. He's been treated for everything, and I mean everything else. I didn't know so many antibiotics even existed. He's going to be transferred to a major research hospital in Manhattan as soon as an ICU bed becomes available. We're just waiting for the call, and when it comes, they'll stuff him in the helicopter, day or night. Because he's had strokes, it's possible that nothing can ever be done, and there will be no improvement from here, but I'll wait for the big brains in New York City to tell us that. Also, he was Joel from The Last of Us for Halloween. Method acting a-hole. I have the watch he made for it, and if he ever recovers enough for me to do so, I'm going to throw it at his head. One comment says, I had disseminated histoplasmosis, which took 5 months and multiple hospitalizations until my organs began failing. I transferred to another hospital's ICU and was intubated for 10 days till they found what seemed to be yeast in my system, which indicated something fungal related. They hit me with anamorphosin B and my fever came down, and ultimately they pulled me off the ventilator. I don't know if there's much I can say to comfort you, but I know there's zero community here of those who have faced disseminated histoplasmosis, so if you have any questions, thoughts, etc., DM me, I'm here for you. Another comment says, as a sibling who watched my sister battle an ultra-rare, no chance this could be it, blood disease from an ICU bed, I'm holding y'all in my heart. Thank you for taking the time to update a bunch of strangers on the internet. Opie adds another small post. I saw a discussion here recently about how going to the nurse's station is frustrating and needy. I had no idea this was the case, and had considered it less obnoxious than hitting the call button. Using a button or bell to summon someone always gives me the ick and felt inappropriate for non-emergencies. So, in a vein similar to that, what should we the family do to make your life easier? What do you wish more families would do? And similar to the above, what do you wish families would stop doing? One comment says, don't ask for stuff for yourselves. I'm here to help your family member, not get you a blanket, coffee, water, a new pillow, a different chair, etc. Also, feel free to help your family member adjust their blanket, change the channel, adjust the heat or AC, charge their phone, etc. You don't have to call me for that. Another comment says, clustering cares is super helpful. Hitting the call light is great, and when you do, it's nice to think of other things you might need. For example, hey, I think my dad needs help to use the bathroom. Also, since it's 11, could we order lunch and change his sheets while he's up? And while you're in here, could you tell us when his next pain meds are due? It's not always going to be possible. Humans are not robots, and people can be frequently incontinent and need pain meds, etc. But it's so nice to be able to knock out several tasks at once instead of coming in and out multiple times in an hour. To be clear, please use your call light when you need it. Don't wait if your loved one is sitting in a mess or wailing in pain just because you don't want to inconvenience us. Try to appoint one person to get updates from the doctors and nurses that can update the rest of your family. When grandma has 5 daughters visiting and calling for updates, it can be overwhelming. Don't come up to the nurse's station instead of using the call light, then stand there and wait. Don't order DoorDash and expect staff to run around looking for it or bring it to the room right when it arrives. Yeah, something tells me DoorDash at a hospital probably isn't logistically the right thing to do. Okay, on to a final update so far. I wanted to give an update to my 2 posts from earlier this year. I know a few folks reached out to me. I'm sorry for not responding, as I wasn't in a place at that time to really do so. But your kindness and the fact that total strangers on the internet genuinely cared was a balm for me when I really needed it. The final diagnosis is an extremely rare autoimmune disorder called, just bear with me on this one, acute disseminated encephalomyelitis. Sorry. The trigger isn't clear, but it can really be caused by almost anything. He had an upper respiratory infection prior to all of this, which is a common trigger. He slowly emerged from his coma over the course of a month or 2, passing through different levels of consciousness and awareness slowly, and was in fact locked in the early stages. He could only move his eyes to communicate. He received plasmapheresis treatments and started regaining mobility after that. It started with slightly moving his head side to side, slightly moving his lips, slightly twitching his fingers. Soon he was mouthing words and curling his toes. ADEM apparently has a good prognosis for recovery, and the larger hospital we transferred to told us that there are no strokes in the brain, despite the initial hospital's assessment. The larger hospital has significantly more advanced MRI machines, which meant they could capture pictures the small regional hospital could not. This is something I wanted to bring up because I want to emphasize the importance of seeking that second opinion. Had we not transferred to the larger hospital, got the plasma treatment, got the new MRIs, we may very well have made different decisions regarding his life support. I have no doubt other families in our position through the years have been forced to do just that. Do not give up until you have a diagnosis. As for how things are going now, he's been slowly regaining his mobility, and the neurologist told us we have no reason to believe he won't walk again. Cognitively, he is 100%. He doesn't remember the first 6 weeks or so after waking up from the coma, but does remember everything before getting sick perfectly. He's weaned off the ventilator in March. He transferred to an inpatient rehab facility and was there for several more months. He's now home and doing outpatient rehabilitation. He can move every body part, though he has muscle wasting and will need to continue intense physical therapy to get out of the wheelchair. Being in hospitals for nearly a year is not without its own complications. Sepsis at least once, pneumonia multiple times, so much MRSA and IV antibiotics, and a stage 4 bed sore, but considering where this started, it still feels like a miracle. 5 hospitals, 8 months. Please hold your family members close and don't take for granted the amazing things your body does every day. It can all go haywire overnight. And for anyone who read these posts and cared for some strangers on the internet, thank you. Kisses and hugs. Oh, incredible. I love an ending where things are looking up. But yeah, a great sentiment to end up on there. Tell your family you love them. Anyway, that's it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.